Let's just do this one more with
Okay.
J.D. Vance, because this really I find incredibly obnoxious. The Ukraine became part of the Soviet Union in 1922. 14 years later, the Republican Party's platform called Social Security creeping socialism, and saying that Social Security, which had just been passed the year prior, an abomination, and called for its cutting and essentially the program to be completely annihilated. Almost every single platform produced by Republicans since 1936 called for cuts, if not the complete rejection of Social Security, until the 2020 platform,
Yeah.
which was, we're just in favor of what Donald Trump wants.
And Trump had been publicly professing his desire to protect Social Security because he's a crowd surfer and he knows it's a very popular program.
Yeah, he also had professed protection for Medicare, and the Republicans tried to cut that.
You can't
and
trust
stop.
it, but it's interesting that he recognized that.
Yes, I will also add that the chief impetus within the country to privatize Social Security so they get their hands on what is known as dumb money came from Wall Street back in 2005 when George W. Bush wanted to privatize Social Security. We're going to invest it in Wall Street. And of course, that is what they call dumb money, money that is sort of orphaned in some way and can be manipulated and used for things like fees and to prop up stocks. Now, I give you Republican J.D. Vance, former investment banker with who was it?
I don't know. Well, Yale graduate.
Wasn't he investment banker, J.D. Vance?
Yeah, buddies with
Yeah, I think Teal.
buddies with Peter Thiel, and it's interesting that he's
Finance
on
guy.
Rumble here. This is a link to Rumble, and I would say, this is a Thiel-backed media project.
Yeah, so Yale Law, then worked at Mithril Capital, Thiel's venture capital firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here is J.D. Vance on the War Room with Steve Bannon. Just wanted to give you all of those facts so you understand what's going on here.
Anybody walk the Senate through, because it's just not $61 billion. We're 113, 120
Correct.
This 61's for this year. The point you made that's not made enough on mainstream media is that we're now in the situation of underwriting their pensions, underwriting the entire government. It's 61 now, but just like Afghanistan, it's another 61 after that, another 61 after that. Correct? We're going to be $500 billion in this thing in before Trump gets back to office.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be asked to rebuild their entire country. That's after funding another $200 billion in military conflict. There's $300 billion on top of that to rebuild the country. Then we got to pay for their pensioners. We're getting easily $500 billion in the hole for the Ukraine conflict by the time this is done. And Steve, at the very same time, you have people in this town saying we need to cut Social Security. There are people who would cut Social Security, throw our grandparents into poverty. Why? So that one of Zelensky's ministers can buy a bigger yacht? Kiss my ass, Steve. It's not happening.
So what's going to happen?
So here it is. Let me just say one thing about Tough Guy. Aside from your feelings about whether we should continue to fund Ukraine or not, the payment for Zelensky's yacht is a lie. But the people who want to cut Social Security are otherwise known as Republicans in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
There are some Democrats, Joe Manchin, I think probably you could convince to cut Social Security. But the last vote taken on Social Security in the Senate was back when the Democrats voted in a non-binding resolution because they couldn't get the legislation passed through the House, was to increase Social Security. there is one party that has unequivocally supported Social Security and created Social Security, and it is not his party. And if you think that we could not spend a dime on Ukraine, we could have Ukraine, for whatever reason, send us $10 billion. And I can assure you, not a single person in the Republican Party would change their attitude towards the idea of cutting or expanding Social Security.
Yeah, when we had a budget surplus under Clinton, did the Republicans stop their ideological commitment to cutting Social Security?
Never.
No.
Never.
No.
Never.
Well, they use it as
never.
a chance to launch a war.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. Just so you know. And,
I also
and no,
like-
I don't know why J.D. Vance is wearing eyeshadow.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Raccoon boy.
Yeah, and notice how it's only Ukraine funding that we're talking
Of
about
course.
here, and like that whole $100+
so funny.
billion package also includes money to Taiwan and to Israel, and you don't hear a peep about that.
Well, they
from
have
the
to pretend
Republicans.
like they're the Tim Pool anti-imperialists that don't know anything about Israel-Palestine, but maybe they'll look into it. At some point.
Yeah.
Colin from Washington says, might be surprising in advance, but we can have both increase Social Security and fund a new Marshall Plan.
It's a false zero-sum situation.
But it gives him an opportunity to pretend like he cares about Social Security. Let's read a couple IMs and then we should go. Didn't really make it early, did I? Stephen from Cambridge. I was part of the Climate Defiance crew at Richie Neal event yesterday. Your coverage and support means a lot. To answer Sam's question, this was actually at the Boston Harbor Hotel.
Oh, wow.
What?
The new, sorry, my bad. The New England Institute is based in Worcester, but it must have been an event in Boston.
Oh, I'm so disappointed.
Thank you.
It was my first action with Climate Defiance, and I'm a big fan of how their young leadership is running things. They need our support. They're holding a fundraiser on January 3rd at 6 p.m. with Ayanna Pressley and Stephen Dodenzinger. The location is TBD in Boston. Folks can follow their Twitter, Climate Defiance, at Climate Defiance, to find the location when announced. Also, let's band together on the even more important project of making I paid for this breakfast, you didn't a thing. Left is best. That's great. It's too bad. I'm going to be up in that area in mid-January for my
Your reunion.
my 40th high school reunion. Really scary. Militant apathy. Paxson is an evil bastard for doing this, and F that Supreme Court, too. One of the worst times in a poor woman's life, just to deal with this wickedness, too. This enrages me. I saw my partner crawl on the floor in pain for hours when she miscarried, and she waited for it to pass. At home in the bathroom, that's the way it works in reality. What effing world do these lunatics live in? Militant apathy. Trump literally tried to cut the HCA. McCain saved it. Right. That would have been Medicaid, though, to be fair.
Which he's now weirdly been taking credit for in speeches. He's been saying that it was a legendary moment when McCain did that, and he was responsible for that. He goes, I saved it when McCain did that.
Yeah.
That is now what he's doing.
Weird.
They were publicly feuding at the
Yes,
time.
yeah, like
Okay.
he hates the guy. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I did that, actually.
It's amazing.